Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Undertale. It's crazy to think that this game came out 10 years ago because in 2015 this game was huge. If video games were a part of your algorithm in any way, you at least heard about Undertale. And if they were a big part of your algorithm, then you got to know the characters and the music and the memes, even if you've never even touched Undertale before. It did eventually get to the point where it felt kind of annoying. Like, it's kind of one of those situations where if the fan base is ravenous enough, then it leads me to kind of despise the source material that they are ravenous about. But that's really not fair to Undertale, because realistically, like, there is a reason why Undertale was so big. Just like there's a reason why Fortnite is so big, because there is some value here for these properties that is enough to garner this ravenous fan base. And so I feel like we've kind of passed the bell curve of fan base craze. I feel like at the very tippy top, people were crazy about Undertale and you got kind of annoyed with the property of Undertale, but I feel like we've passed that and most of the fan base has at least moved on, or at least is not talking about it constantly on the internet. And that's where I come in. So this is actually my second playthrough of Undertale, but even my first playthrough, it was maybe like 5 or 6 years after the game had released. This game really stands out with the indie scene because it was almost made by like one person. I think he did like pretty much everything except for a couple of the visual assets, if I'm not mistaken. And so Toby Fox is obviously a very skilled composer. He's really good at making the music, but he also has a certain tone and humor that he puts in his games that it just is so amusing to play through. And I don't know, he has this way of being like silly and humorous, but also shifting gears and making the characters feel relatable and likable as well. So let's get into the story. Basically, like a long time ago, there was this war between humans and monsters, and human souls are like so much more powerful than monster souls. And so humans were able to take down the monsters and basically shove them like deep underground and put up this force field that they cannot pass. They need enough power to pass through the force field, and monster souls just isn't enough to break that barrier. You are a vague looking blotchy kind of human. Like, you can't even tell if you're a boy or a girl or like what's going on here. Anyway, you fall down into the monster realm essentially, and you are trying to like navigate your way back home. Now, even though this game came out 10 years ago, I'm hesitant to talk much more about this actual story itself, because I do feel like this is the type of game that it is best going in blind and just being like surprised by the story elements. Along your journey, you will be encountering a very colorful cast of characters that are both humorous, touching, relatable, likable. You will be fighting them, you will be talking with them, befriending them. Pretty much every single character that you're going to come across in this game, you're going to want to talk to at least 2 or 3 times because the dialogue changes, and like you really want to flesh out the world to see like what other funny meme-worthy content is waiting for you. The combat is also very unique. So obviously this game I don't think it's a secret that this game was inspired by Undertale. It's got that very like quirky, silly, weird type of tone to it. But I definitely think that it's been like modernized a little bit more than Earthbound, obviously. So the combat itself is very, very unique in that it's like a turn-based combat, but when the enemy is attacking you, you are controlling this heart and you have to avoid enemy projectiles. But it has a way of like breaking the fourth wall where the barrier that your heart is in can sometimes like move out of the barrier, and like certain enemy attacks you have to be standing completely still and you won't get hurt, or you'll have to be moving through the enemy attacks. And so I think that the game does a good job of introducing like the core concept and then slowly breaking the rules of that concept in a humorous way. During your turn, you have the option to fight an enemy, and during the fight, it's almost like kind of like a really quick micro rhythm game where you have to press A at the right time. You also have the option though to spare monsters. It's not as simple as just going to the mercy option and sparing the monster and running away. Most monsters are going to require you to like interact with them a certain way. And so for instance, you'll encounter almost like this like weird reindeer looking monster with like a ton of decorations on its horns. And so how you spend your turn is you have to remove another item from its horns until it is clean again from ornaments, and then you can spare it. Or like other monsters, you kind of have to like flirt with them a little bit. Or some monsters, you have to flex with them until they outflex themselves and fly off the screen. And so it is kind of funny, like you encounter an enemy and you're like, okay, what do I have to do? How do I have to interact with this monster in order to get to that mercy option, to get that unlocked? And if you want, you can like completely ignore the mercy option. You can just say like, I'm gonna kill everything that I come across. And that's where this game kind of warrants multiple playthroughs. Like you're not going to 100% experience this game in just one playthrough. Some playthroughs, you're gonna wanna go through and just kill everything. If that's the type of story that you're playing out, then go for it. Other playthroughs, you're going to want to try and like spare everybody and not kill anybody. And during your first playthrough, you're probably inadvertently going to be doing a little bit of both. Just like I did during my first playthrough. And so this playthrough, I decided to go completely mercy. I'm going to be such a good guy. I'm never going to damage any enemy if I do not have to, because that's just kind of the person that I like to be when I play video games. I like to be the nice helper. I don't want to be the bad guy at all. But my next playthrough, my third playthrough, I'm probably going to go the murderous route just to see how the dialogues change. And just like the combat, like this game is really good at breaking the fourth wall and really good at breaking normal video game conventions. Like there's your save file and then there's your save file. And so since this was my second playthrough, characters kind of recognized me. They had this like weird nostalgic feeling about seeing me, and I like that kind of bled through into my second file from my first playthrough. It also is really good at like subverting your expectation, where like if you're a normal gamer, you've experienced games a certain way so many times, it's kind of interesting how it breaks those expectations, and it's surprising and humorous when it does so. Playing a completely violence-free run was kind of difficult though, because you're never going to gain any XP from defeating enemies, and so even at the very end of the game, during like the final boss fights, you're going to be level 1 with only 20 HP. And so it was definitely necessary for me to stock up on a ton of healing items. I'm just constantly eating food, trying to heal up, because by the end of the game, like some enemies are dealing 5 to 10 damage, and they can pack quite a punch. And so if you're not good at dodging enemy attacks, you're going to be consuming a lot of items like I did. On its surface, this game looks very simple, but there are certainly moments that almost feel I would describe as beautiful, like certain touching moments when it's just like your character's silhouette, or you're like going across these crystally caves and you get sucked in. Like it has a way of being visually appealing with such a simple premise. And it's kind of the same for the music too. Like Toby Fox, I've mentioned this earlier, he's like an amazing composer. He can make these crazy good video game soundtracks using simple chip tunes. Even if you have no intention of ever playing Undertale, I recommend you listen to the soundtrack, because there's a lot of bops here. It's a super short game too, which I think warrants itself to do those multiple playthroughs. I think if you know what you're doing, a run could take maybe like 2 to 3 hours, I would say. Like the puzzles themselves are tricky and clever, but you're never going to get like really stuck on a puzzle. And the pathway to go forward is usually like fairly linear as well. Overall, I think I'm going to give this game a 5 out of 5. I mean, there's a reason why Undertale was so legendary, and now that the fan dust has settled so much, I feel like the world needs to reappreciate Undertale. Of course, Toby Fox has made a sequel, prequel? I haven't actually played it yet. He's got a second game that he's doing in like chapters called Deltarune, and I think he's done like 4 chapters of Deltarune. I'm not sure if there's going to be a 5th one or not. Again, that's a game that I haven't really touched yet, but having done my second playthrough of Undertale, I'm looking at Deltarune like I want to see what else Toby Fox can make, because he is a very talented person. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Undertale, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!